Welcome to our state hockey tournament edition of Sun On Sports. I'm Nick Clark, joined today by Mr. Mike Shaughnessy to my left and John Sherman to my right. And boys, the biggest and most watched event of our sports season is underway and got started yesterday with the Class A, four Class A quarterfinals. And I think yesterday kind of starts and ends with one Ben Hanowski from Little Falls. The senior put on a show, 5 goals, 5 out of his team's 6 goals, and a 6-2 win over Virginia in the first quarterfinal last night. And my goodness, we haven't been talking about that kind of performance since John Mayasich and Evelyn in the late 1940s. I mean, Mike, we can start with you. You've been watching this sport a long time. Where does that type of performance maybe rank in terms of state hockey tournament history?
Oh, geez. I mean, his team scored 6 goals and he only had 5 of them. What's the matter with him? It's really hard to gauge, because it is Class A. I mean,
True.
You're talking about a slightly lower level of competition, but you have to think that this is a guy who's already signed with a major college team, who ranks pretty highly in the NHL Central Scouting rankings. He by all accounts is the real deal, and anybody with any kind of knack for scoring at any level is going to be a highly recruited player. You kind of heard the same argument with Joey Bennick a few weeks ago. He's scoring a lot, but
True.
Who's he doing it against? The counter argument was, well, if it's so easy, why isn't everybody in his league scoring at that rate?
Yeah.
And it looks like Hankowski may have that special set of skills that could serve him well in college hockey, even if he's maybe competing in the somewhat less publicized class in the state tournament.
I think beyond the 5 goals last night, there was another statistic that jumped out, and you mentioned he's targeted to be a high draft pick, and I think the NHL Scouting Service has him slated to go in one of the first 3 rounds. But not only did he get the 5 goals last night, in doing so, John, he passed the 400-point mark for a career. Now, you break that down. You say you're playing varsity as a freshman. That's 100 points a season. Obviously, he passed Johnny Poehler this year to become the all-time leading scorer in Minnesota high school history. We just don't kind of see these kind of numbers come around very often.
No, he's an incredible player, obviously, Nick. And Hankowski, to get 400 points, that's a record that might not be broken anytime soon. Just looking at a good Class AA player, Anders Lee from Edina, he's going into the state tournament with 224 career points, and he's one of the best I've ever seen. So the kid from Little Falls, obviously a great player, and I think he's going to go on to the next level and continue to score goals like this.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he looks like on that big sheet of ice up at the National Hockey Center. St. Cloud State plays on an Olympic-sized sheet of ice, and as Ben proved again last night, he can move pretty good with some of these top players in the state. And it's tough to put in perspective the type of career he has, and maybe you talk a little bit more about what it's going to take to slow him down. And Breck, that's their object tomorrow in the semifinals. Breck beat Rochester Lords last night. Very impressive win, 3-0. Johnny Russell picked up his 6th shutout of the year, 20 saves. Travis Morin scored twice, Mike Morin, I'm sorry, scored twice for Breck, and Joey Raykamp got him going with a goal, first man in the second period. The Mustangs have played a much tougher schedule than Little Falls this year. They were ranked 3rd in the state in Class A heading into the tournament. They felt a little slighted in that they were seeded 4th. But in tomorrow's matchup, Little Falls, they're undefeated, they're 29-0 now, they're the number 1 seed in the tournament. Yet I don't know if there's a decided favorite in this game, being that both these teams are play at such a high level. I mean, Mike, how do you see this possibly playing out?
I have to think that Breck is probably deeper, simply because they're in the Twin Cities. They have a larger talent pool to draw from, even though they are a private school. It probably comes down to how much damage Hankowski can do when he's on the ice, because I'm guessing in in the semifinal game that Little Falls can't really expect a lot of offense from any of the lines that Hankowski does not skate on.
True.
And I would think, especially if it's tight, that he'd get double shifted a lot, and Breck may not need to go down that road. And it'll be interesting to see if they can wear him down. One other thing I'd wanted to mention about Hankowski is one thing that stands out to me is he's this senior with tremendous ability, and he stayed at Little Falls. I mean, a guy with that kind of skill, it'd be easy to assume he'd either be in the USHL or Ann Arbor by now, and he elected to stay with his high school, which this day and age is admirable.
Yeah, it really is, and this is why he came back. There was a fantastic article in the St. Cloud Times written by a gentleman named Tom Elliott in their state tournament preview for him, and really talked in depth about the reasoning behind coming back. And the record maybe played a small role in it, and a chance to be that guy, but this is the reason he wants to play for a state championship. I think they're going to have their hands full, though. I mean, Breck is, we mentioned their depth. They run 3 solid lines. All 3 of them can score. And they've really prided themselves on their conditioning and the conditioning program they put themselves in. Excuse me, even during the season. They run a dry land once a week or twice a week dry land program. They're constantly working out in conditioning, and you saw that last night. Lourdes tried to come back on them, and they really didn't have anything going. Breck outshot them 13-5 in that last period, and the puck really never left Rochester's end late. They're going to have their hands full.